Hello and welcome to episode 100 and dose for the 214 Sports Show. I'm your host, TJ Krilowicz, joined alongside my co-host, Joseph Duffey. We are Everything Dallas Sports every Monday at 10 a.m. now. First Monday podcast. We'll make it more consistently, obviously, on every Monday at 10 a.m. We used to do Thursdays. Now we're doing Mondays. Joe, how you doing?
Doing good. Glad to be back on the podcast again with you, TJ. And it's kind of different not to really talk too much about the Cowboys for sure, as the season is officially over and playoffs are really ramping up. So it's a really good watch to see some quality football again in the NFL.
Yeah, well, we didn't see much of that, at least on the defensive side with the Dallas Cowboys this season. We'll see how that all goes down. We are talking about the draft last week. That's still a long ways away. Still got free agency first before that. And of course, before all that, still got to finish the playoffs, which right now in the divisional rounds, well, we'll be finished with the divisional rounds once this is uploaded. So we'll get back to the Cowboys sooner than later, talking about their offseason plans, what they're going to do in the draft. Obviously, it's going to be defensive, defensive, defensive. But for now, we'll just be talking about the Mavericks and Stars, who are both in season. The Rangers starting up next month with spring training. Not too much going on their front. So we're going to stick it strictly to the Dallas teams, Arlington teams. They'll get a break from the podcast this week. First off, going with the Dallas Mavericks. Of course, kind of rough going this last week, depending on how you're thinking with how this season should go. They had two games, two prime games to fix their draft position. If you are on the tanking side of the Mavericks, which I personally am. I don't know where you are, Joe, but
Very
I
down
know
the
that
middle.
I am. You're right down with me. I'm telling you, it's the smarter decision, obviously, especially with how competitive the West is, which they'll always West is always going to be the competitive conference. But they lost or they won both games against the Utah Jazz at home, both blowouts, both, just incredible performances by some players to, prevent us from tanking. But I mean, we're now, I believe they're 17 and 20. Let me just check the record real quick. I
Yeah,
know that I
17 and
was
26.
17 and 26. I knew I was
By
right.
the way, this has to be the last time they play the Jazz, right? I feel like they play the Jazz once a week at this point.
I
Feels
mean,
like they just play them so much.
maybe we kept on playing the Jazz. It is the last time that they play the Utah Jazz. But I mean, I wasn't complaining. It is fun to watch the team win, obviously. But when you're looking at the last 10 games, they're 5-5. When you look at the previous 10 games before that, they're 4-6. And if you look at the previous 10 games before that, they're 5-5. So they are completely mediocre. And it's not doing them any good service because you're at the very middle. You're in the very middle. You're not, you're good enough to kind of compete in a way, but you're not good enough or you're not bad enough to tank and to properly tank with some of these professional tanking teams like you see with Utah and you see with Portland. Actually, Portland's still up there with us, but New Orleans is another one, obviously. And, the other Eastern teams like the Wizards and Nets, which is another team that the Mavs just beat with Brooklyn. But there's something that I do want to talk about because we've obviously talked plenty of times about trading Anthony Davis, and I think we all kind of agree that that's where they should go. Before we last time we did the podcast, he didn't have his hand hurt. It's been a while since we've done a podcast. Um, just a abysmal, abysmal injury right there. I mean, I can't even. We don't need to talk about it. It's been so long now, but we know that it's probably right to trade Anthony Davis, no matter what kind of value you can get. But there's other people on this roster that, hold up a lot of contract. They're aging. They have, they can get a good return. And I don't know, what about trading, other players than Anthony Davis? I think you know where I'm going with this.
I know where you're
I
going.
know a lot of people don't want to talk about this. But do you think if we really want to tank and build through Cooper Flag, that we should trade Kyrie Irving?
Well, I hope not, because I love watching the guy play, but I can see where you're going with that for sure. Firstly, shout out Dwight Powell with 35 plus minus. Got to give it to the guy right there. The Mavericks legend will retire all said and done with the most Mavs games played, possibly, or at least in the top two. But
Can't be Dirk, but
yeah,
he's up
probably
there.
not. Probably not. But Dwight Powell, good to see you back in the starting lineup again. But yeah, Kyrie Irving, he's been just so awesome to watch as he's really, lessened being in the media for the wrong reasons as he was with his Nets tenure for sure, even his later parts of his Celtics tenure. I hate that he's just been so hurt from March last year because I really did believe in him and Anthony Davis before they both just unfortunately went down or suffered injuries. I don't know if I entertain him getting traded. Um, because I think that he'd be a good guy for Cooper Flag to lean on in the future. Veteran leadership for sure. I think he's really bought in to being a veteran now, especially on a team like this and being a mainstay of this new era of Mavericks basketball since they've gotten rid of what we thought would be a guy who would usher us into the next great era of Mavericks basketball. So I think that Kyrie Irving is really not going to get traded. They may entertain it ever so slightly, but I don't think they'll end up really seriously be considered to move on from the Dallas Mavericks. Who I do think they can move on from, of course, is Klay Thompson, sending off a guy who's obviously older. He had a good game against the Jazz, the more recent one, 23 points, 7 of 12 from the field, 6 of 11 from three-point range. I see that more so. A definitely aging shooting guard. He's coming off the bench now. Possibly Kayla Martin. We've seen how that has now worked out too well from that move that got him to the Dallas Mavericks from
For
Nico
ruining
Harrison.
my day, by the way,
An
mentioning him.
absolutely
Wasn't
ridiculous
even gonna
trade that
try.
has done absolutely nothing. But for sure, Klay Thompson is probably top of my list to get traded, and I hate that because I really wanted Klay Thompson here to play with Luka after that team lost against the Boston Celtics in the finals. I thought it was a really solid move to bring him here. But it's a shame that everything's just been wrecked since Luka Doncic was traded. The careers have been flat out shifted. Like,
Yep.
Derek Lively,
Yep.
albeit with so many injuries he's had, um, and so many other players as well that just like, especially like Daniel Gafford, had injuries too. But these guys have had their careers impacted because of this Nico Harrison trade to get Luka out of Dallas. So I think Klay Thompson is at the head of my list instead of Kyrie Irving. But, I'm interested to see your thoughts of Kyrie possibly being out of here for better draft
I mean, why
capital.
not both? I mean, I hate to be like this, I talked to I kind of I backpack off of you where it's I'm more on the player side than the business side, obviously, because I'm not on the business side. I don't work for the Dallas Mavericks at all. And so, I watch these games and I start to really like the players. I really do love the players that play and put on the Mavericks jersey. And especially someone like Kyrie Irving, who came in here with, the media just on his back, just talking and all the fans, and he had this big redemption and became, just the perfect counterpart to Luka Doncic on the offensive side. But, you know, the business side is talking to me a little bit. Again, I'm such a player person. I have a hard time even trading players in fantasy. But I mean, you know, look, Kyrie Irving, we don't know what he's going to be like coming back from this injury. And, this is a guy who was just an all-star last year. And so, I mean, if you want to maximize value for somebody who's aging, somebody who's on a big contract, free up that space, free up, get more picks, unfortunately, you might want to trade him before he comes back. That might be where his value peaks because he's coming off an all-star season. He's 33. He just had a torn ACL. Um, I mean, what are the odds that he comes back again? His whole game comes off of explosiveness. He's an explosive player. That is going to really hinder how he can, react on offense. And so, I mean, I'm just, I had this worried little thought in the back of my head that Kyrie Irving's going to come back and he's going to be half the player that he was and that this injury might just, derail him on his career. And I hate to be that negative guy. And I think about it, I want Kyrie Irving, even if we do trade him, to be, as good as he was before his injury, because I don't, I'm not a hater in any circumstance. Just talking from the business side that if we really want to commit to this, that might be the best move. And, you talk about rather trading Klay Thompson over, Kyrie Irving. Klay Thompson's not going to get a good return. And, he's had a great 2 games against Utah. He's really started to pick it up a little bit. I think he's averaging about 14 points per game in his last 10 or in this month of January, which is, a lot higher than his seasonal average. I think it's at around 11. He's been shooting more threes. It seems like they're actually starting to implement him in the offense for once, which, at a time I thought it was impossible because he was so good off the ball and we didn't have any playmakers that get him open. And, now he's working with Nimhard and, obviously a rookie facilitator, but he's been great for the team, 5 assists per game. And, it seems to really start to get some opening looks, especially now with Cooper Flag getting a lot more respect than he used to with his all-star type stats. And so, I'm just saying if you want to get a return, if you're really about to commit to this tank job and you're going to trade Anthony Davis, then why not trade Kyrie Irving as well? Um, that's not going to go well with the fans. Not going to go well with the fans at all.
Oh, definitely not. And it
But on the
sounds
business
insane, by
side,
the way. By
what?
the way, like it's amazing you were talking about Kyrie's play style, how explosiveness definitely is his hallmark, one of the best finishers down low that we've ever seen from the
Bread and
point
butter,
guard
man.
position. Yeah, I mean it's amazing. He's so shifty. It honestly is crazy. This is his first time he's torn his ACL, to be honest with you. It's not like how does a guy who moves like that so fluidly I've never seen a talent like that, Kyrie Irving. I don't know if anybody's really seen a talent like that at the point guard position, a surefire Hall of Famer that moves like that. Like it's poetry when he has the ball in his hands. So, it's a shame he tore his ACL. We wish him the best in his return, or eventual return. But yeah, it's amazing to me that he really hasn't dealt with more injuries similar to that because he had his injuries in the Cavs, but it was more like like tendonitis related. It was never really about him actually like tearing ligaments like we saw with the injury last time, and that's what made it hurt so much because it came after that Luka trade.
Hmm.
And it already feels terrible for so many Mavs fans, and then the guy you thought you can lean on an injury that has never happened to him occurs, and it's like it just somehow gets worse. And then you see the Anthony Davis injury again. Always feels like the fifth time he's gotten injured since this Luka trade. But my goodness, it looks so innocent. It's like, how does this guy? How's he gonna miss all these months because of that trade? Because of that injury that he had as the player was driving down the baseline. It's like just it feels so unlucky. It feels like Mavs fans are just cursed right now. But I don't know,
I
man.
think Nico Harrison did put on a curse. It's like a great Bambino curse. I really don't. I'm worried. I'm worried about this future. Of course, we got the luckiest part of our entire franchise history by getting the first overall pick with a 1.8 percentage odds right after the trade. So maybe I'm just rambling for no reason. Maybe I'm just bullshitting, but I mean, it does feel it's really weird. Um, you know, the problem with me is that Kyrie Irving does have injury issues. You talk about that is the first time that he's torn ACL, but he does have injury issues, and it's been with the Mavericks too. He's had, inconsistent times on the court, which I mean, I don't know how many times. I don't know if there's really any player in the NBA at this point that doesn't have injury issues. I mean, it's almost everybody at this point. But I mean, I just think that maybe it comes down to what Kyrie wants. Obviously, he's been such an integral part for our last 2 to 3 years, and he's been vocal about how he wants to stay in Dallas. He's re-signed with us twice now, and I think that, you know, it would be a disservice and it would send a message to a lot of people being like, no one's safe. And, unfortunately, that doesn't go well with players. Um, so maybe it does come down to Kyrie. Maybe he gets a final say. Maybe maybe you don't open negotiations with other teams, but if other teams come up to you and say they want to get Kyrie Irving, you listen to them. But I do agree with you, of course, getting Klay Thompson out of here, which is another one that hurts a lot. Anthony Davis doesn't hurt nearly as much as
Oh,
Klay
definitely not.
Thompson and Kyrie Irving, mostly because they have chosen to be here and the front office failed them miserably, miserably. And so it hurts to be like, we got to let you go. But it also feels like it's a like if you love somebody, let them go kind of type deal, you know? Like,
True.
I don't know what else to say. It's a everybody else on this roster, other than those three specifically, I would say are good building blocks. And of course, Caleb Martin will, you know, I don't even really consider him part of the team. But I mean, you have a lot of great young players right now. Nimhard, it can be a great player that you can grow into and be a great point guard, facilitator. I really like Muisa Cisse so far. I mean, he's just a fun player to watch. He's athletic, just freakishly athletic, and you know, yeah, I think we could really build him into a Clint Capella type player when, with that doesn't sound too good, obviously, but when Clint Capella was in his prime, he was a
Oh, he was a
dominant center for
monster.
the Rockets.
Oh
And
yeah.
as somebody, Moisa Cisse reminds me of Houston Rockets Clint Capella. First time, not current Houston Rockets Clint Capella. So yeah, I mean, that's going to be the Dallas Mavericks. They of course play the New York Knicks on today, the special MLK Day at 4 o'clock. I think it's on ESPN or ABC if you want to watch them play the New York Knicks. That is a big game for them. Begin to play. Oh, sorry, NBC and Peacock. A big game for them playing against former Maverick Jalen Brunson, and just for the tanking purposes after winning two against Utah, then they'll go and play Golden State and the Los Angeles Lakers
A little
later.
odd to not see MLK games on TNT anymore. A little odd.
Yeah, no, that is a little
Yeah.
odd. It is just a tad bit odd. I wonder who's going to be the voice for, the Mavs New York game. I do like the NBC personalities though and the
They're
Peacock
pretty good. They're
personalities.
pretty
They're
good.
pretty they're
Yeah.
pretty good. Gotta like them. I do like Prime too. They're pretty decent as well over there at Prime. Which Golden State game on Thursday will be on Prime. The game against Luca and the Los Angeles Lakers on Saturday against at 7:30 will be on ABC. So every game this week is on a nationally televised channel, or sorry, a streaming channel as well. Prime Video is not a channel, but yeah. So, anyways, moving on to the Dallas Stars, which are currently in a battle with the Tampa Bay Lightning as the time we're recording it. I got on the side over here. About a minute left in the first period. 1-1 game. They've had a really tough slide. It's bad. They're 2-8 in the last 10, and they have the worst penalty kill in the last 10. A little bit worrisome, but
These guys need a
obviously
break.
you just got to get. Oh wait, sorry. Robertson with a breakaway. Vasilevsky, man, that guy is a robot when he plays against the Dallas Stars. He used to be
Trade them.
amazing, obviously one of the best goalies in the league when we played him in 2020, but he's kind of shifted off a little bit. He's still a very, very solid goalie, but man, that guy is a brick wall when he's playing Dallas. It pisses me off. He's literally a robot, a Russian robot over here playing against us. But the Tampa Bay Lightning, very good team, obviously number one, I think in points wise, in the Eastern Conference right now. Um, so, I hope that they can battle in with this game, get a good point, at least a point. They've been getting points every now and then. They haven't in the last two games against Utah and Anaheim. But, the problem with them is something that it's a reoccurring thing that I talk about in this podcast is starting slow. They've been doing that just a little bit. It's not been a huge concern. What's been a huge concern is getting outplayed in the third period, which is a complete opposite. It's been a flip of what they used to do. They used to start slow, come back in these games. Now they're just not playing good all around. The only time that they've really won a third period in the last few weeks is their one win against Los Angeles. Um, but I mean, looking at these other games, you look at Utah and Anaheim, they couldn't get any offense going in the third period, barely any in the third period when they're down by a goal, which is, pretty rare. You see teams kind of kind of play defensively when they're up one goal. But Utah and Anaheim, they were getting plenty of chances. They're getting more chances than the Stars in the third period, even being up. They lost the third period badly to San Jose, lost in overtime eventually. Game against Washington, great game all around. Carolina, it didn't even matter. They're out in the game in the first period. But these games recently, they've just not been able to win the third period, which is something that's been a strong suit for them in this year, before they've kind of gone on the slide. So I don't know I don't know what the fix is. Obviously, a big fix is getting out of the box They just love that shit. They need to, and it's not been working well for them, obviously. It usually never does, but it's been working extra bad for them recently because their penalty kill has been so bad. But, you know, going into
You've
this
been
next
seeing
game,
the you've
what's
been
up?
seeing the Robertson you've been seeing the Robertson trade rumors heating up.
Oh, well, man, you're skipping the script already, man. Go
My
away.
bad,
That's
my bad, my bad.
a
Wasn't even looking at the script, my bad.
No, no. I mean, it's a great thing to bring up right now
I
because
cut you.
I'm
I'll
kind of
go
just
back to you said
rambling.
next game.
Look, I brought this up when I was like on this whole rant about how Robertson should be on the Team USA roster. But I was like, a good thing about it is, first of all, you don't risk the injuries. But second of all, it could be a very good like part of Robertson and his agents' negotiations to be like, we need more money. We are playing on Team USA. We're the top, one of the top points getters in the league. That's obviously still a true thing, but now he doesn't have Team USA. They kind of bank on asking for more money, but it seems like he still is, which, you know what? He's a great player. He's a great player. And you know what? Great players deserve, the big money that other great players are getting. Look at Miko Rantanen. He's getting 12 million. We committed to him and we just traded for him. Robertson's been homegrown, been in the organization for plenty of years now. Came on the scene after our Stanley Cup Finals year, and why not get him 12 million? The only problem is we're so committed to so many players on our roster that it makes it hard to commit to another one because you already got people like Thomas Harley. And Thomas Harley locked up, Jake Ottinger locked up. Now you got Miko Rannon locked up. You got Wyatt Johnston locked up. All this happened in the last year or two. You have still not as young as the other players, but Rube Hintz and Miro Heiskanen are also locked up for a while, and they have big money contracts signed. And Tyler Sagan still has his big contract. And you know the one person that we need to re-sign badly is Jason Robertson long term. And it's I wish that we could do it because I do really like the squad. I think that they've shown that they can compete. Maybe not in the, well, actually, let me backtrack. They've been able to compete very well in the playoffs until just a specific round and and a specific team. There's just some teams that match up well, and of course, when their usual shitty goalies just turn into brick walls and all
Prototypes.
stars in your series, you can't do too much about it. But I mean, the Oilers just match up well. They're a very dangerous team on the power play. They're a very dangerous team. They did great on the penalty kill both years against us, and they're much, much, much faster. They're much faster. And so, I do think that we need to upgrade. I wish that there was a way that we can upgrade, but the way that we upgrade is not by not re-signing Jason Robertson. In fact, he was one of the few players that really showed up against Edmonton in these last two playoff series.
Hmm.
And I don't know, other than Colorado, who should we be extremely worried about in the West? I would say Edmonton, who, kind of treat the regular season like it's, just an afterthought. They don't really care too much about the regular season. They're still going to make the playoffs. Another team that's going to make the playoffs who's been kind of hot recently is Vegas. That's another team I would worry about. But those are the three teams that I really worry about for the Dallas Stars. And I wouldn't say that there's every single time that we've played them, Jason Robertson has been pretty decent. I wouldn't say Colorado. He didn't play them last year, obviously. 2 years ago, he was not doing much. Not doing much. But against Vegas, he's had great series against Vegas. He's had great series against Edmonton. We need to resign the guy. And I don't think, I tr in Jim Nill we trust, okay? In Jim Nill we trust.
Yeah, but like, even if you were to give him up, you got to get a big guy to replace all that scoring and the points. Like, I don't know who you get in return like that who can, you know, fit in like
Oh
that
no,
before
I
the
think they go
deadline.
defensive. I think they do a swap.
Yeah.
They get somebody who
Yeah.
can be on that right defensive wing. I mean, I know a lot of people ties to Rasmus Anderson. Um, I know that there's just a few places. I saw somebody talking about the Devils. I can't remember who on the Devils. I wish I would know, but I mean, I think they would go defensive here, if they were to trade Jason Robertson. But I think the best ideal is to just get him locked up. We've seen not being able to re-sign players coming up with contracts in recent year. Good old Micah Parsons. You know, that ended up being a decent
Like,
trade for the Dallas Cowboys, but that's only because Micah Parsons got hurt. Micah Parsons wouldn't have
yeah,
gotten hurt. It's still a bad trade in my opinion. And we get building blocks for the future. You get a little cap space, obviously, with the Micah Parsons trade. But we saw Micah Parsons still dominating for Green Bay, having a great season, and the team, Green Bay, being a lot better than Dallas. And I'm just worried that that's going to happen with Jason Robertson, and I'm worried that it's going to happen with Anthony Davis. He's going to magically be, playing a good amount of games. We trade him away, but I mean, that's just, you just never, especially when you're competing, man, especially when you at least feel that you can compete like the Cowboys were. We know that the Stars can compete. We know they can. It's no hypotheticals about if the Stars will make it to the playoffs and if, they'll compete in the playoffs. We know they will. Why would you trade one of your top goal scorer and one of your best points getter when you got this run going? I get it. It's all this money issues. I just don't I feel like Dallas teams are the only teams that struggle with this.
overcomplicated, yeah. But
I
I will
swear,
say,
Vegas
this
is
reminds
Vegas would
me,
just re-sign him with no
yeah,
problem.
just lock him up.
Yeah.
It also
And
reminds
they
me a
would
little
sign
bit
Mitch
of,
Marner in the offseason too, afterwards.
yeah, it reminds me a little bit of Philadelphia and what some of their fans are going through. I know AJ Brown doesn't have the same kind of, personality that Jason Robertson has, but like, you think about what they're going through. Some of the fans have been contemplating if AJ Brown has to go, and Howie Roseman is saying like he makes our team better. Uh, we have a better chance to win when we have him paired with Devontae Smith and other receiving threats as well. Like some people may entertain the rumors of him not being an Eagle anymore, maybe him going to Buffalo or something, or some other team like New England or whatever to have a better draft capital for the future. But like if you have a better chance to win with somebody, you're not gonna like just trade them off like that. Or at least you shouldn't trade them off like that. So I get Howie Roseman's position right there. He said the same thing last year because these conversations are coming up again after AJ Brown had a rough go of it in the playoffs. I mean, getting embarrassed like that against the San Francisco 49ers, and after saying he wants the ball the whole season, reading books on the sidelines, then dropping a few passes, a few targets in the playoff game in that first round exit, it was a bad look. But at the end of the day, he won them a ring last year, had a really good game, and they don't win that ring without AJ Brown. So I do think Jason Robertson's position on this team is still very much vital. I definitely recognizes that still. So I don't know why he would even get traded at this point. You'd have to make up for the scoring aspect someone if you get rid of him. You have to get someone at least very good in the return if you're going to get rid of him. So if it's a defenseman, a really high quality defenseman, that's how it goes. But I don't know if he'll ever entertain this because he's still 26 years old and he's still part of this new era of Stars hockey that I don't know if you can fully replace that guy who's been part of
You will
this
not be
homegrown
able to
system.
replace it, no doubt.
Literally can't.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I'd love to see Jalen Hurts without AJ Brown. I mean, I know that
Oh,
AJ
that's how
Brown
it
didn't
should
have a
have
good
been.
year this year, but
It's how it should have been if that Titans GM wasn't such an idiot. We would
no,
have
I
seen
mean,
that for
yeah,
many
it's just
years.
everything falls into the Eagles' lap all the time. I
It's
don't,
ridiculous.
it's unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, I'm fully against trading Jason Robertson, but unfortunately, we do have one of the best GMs in the league. Fortunately, sorry.
Yeah, about to say, well,
Unfortunately, though, if he thinks it's an option, then there has to be something there. But I do wish I that will be one of the first times that I will disagree with Jim Nill. Maybe it'll take a while to see the vision, but maybe he's right. But I haven't heard anything about Jim Nill obviously being like we are doing these trade searches. It's just been a lot of rumors, a lot of people bringing it up through the media saying this is somebody that you can look out for on the during the trade deadline this year. So we'll see what Jim Nill thinks. I think right now Jim Nill has a good position to kind of go what he usually does during the trade deadline, which is other than last year where he got a big piece in Miko Rannon, which is just try to get, you know, try to get a rental. Try to get a rental for the playoff run. Like a Granlund or like a Matt Zuccarello. That's a big, yeah, that's a while back, but that's just somebody who came into my head. Um, so I don't know if that's what's going to happen. Trade deadline's still a long times away from here, and there's still a lot of hockey to be played before the trade deadline happens. It's in early March. So that'll do it for this episode of the 214 Sports Show. Would love for you to like, subscribe, share this video, comment, interact with us. We'll love to hear your thoughts on how we're doing and just what you'd like us to talk about more. And yeah, you can follow us on YouTube and Spotify at the 214 Sports Show. You can also follow us on X, Instagram, and Twitter slash or sorry, X, Instagram, and TikTok at 214 Sports Show. Post a little extra stuff over there. Be on the lookout. I'm trying to get a video uploaded this week. It will be in the next few days. I can guarantee it. And it's a very special 35-minute video that I've put together, put a lot of sweat and tears in. Not as many tears, just a lot of sweat. It's just a little lighthearted, kind of stupid video that I think is pretty funny and, pretty entertaining. And so I think you'll really enjoy this video that's coming out, this project that I've been working on for about 2 months now, because I've just been busy with so many other things, but I've been working on it and hopefully it'll be out soon. But Joe, you want to send out your socials?
Yeah, somehow we're already near the end of January. This year just started, but we're
Unbelievable.
already creeping near February. I don't know how that works, but yeah, you can follow me at Joseph_Duffy99 on Instagram or Twitter, or you can follow me at Joe_Duffy on TikTok.
You can follow me on Instagram at TJ.Krilowicz and also on X at TJ_Krilowicz. Once again, this has been the 214 Sports Show, episode 102. Everything Dallas Sports every Monday at 10 a.m. We're happy that you joined us this week, and we're happy to see you next week, hopefully, next Monday at 10 a.m.